Welt am Draht.
Die Fragmentat.
Each of us will tell the other a series of scenes from the film so that the other synthesize them properly as a mentat would. Let us begin.
All right, Mentat. The first scene that caught my attention here was the very first scene. So, in these shots, series of shots, what you can see and what called my attention the most were the banners that were surrounding the building in which they were about to enter. In those banners, you could see the triangle, the eye that sees all. So I was thinking about this. Was this a message that maybe masonry is dominating this film, or there is a hidden message that we need to find there? Or am I like looking for something that was not there? Yeah, I don't know. And apart from the banners, yeah, the shot was a bit tainted by a distortion. I don't know if you remember Mentat. So,
Oh, all
what's
right. I feel that you are succumbing to the hermeneutic temptation of seeing beyond structural aspects, but I think you made a point there in regard to the structures at the very beginning. So, the very beginning, what happens is that we see characters entering, yeah, a building, yeah, and this building, I believe we should interpret it as the institution that holds the power, that calls the shots. And this could take the form of masonry, this could take the form of any kind of interested party. But let me tell you something, once you got a wall behind which you can hide and behind which you can pull the strings, anything is possible. Now, in regard to the distortion, I believe it is very intentional that we don't make our intentions very clear to anyone. And if we are a powerful institution capable of, creating the most desirable but at the same time unwished technology, well, you better get some distortion in the middle.
That's pretty wise.
I'm glad you find it that way.
Yeah. Mentat.
All right. So there is this scene in which two characters are having a conversation, and the conversation has to do with the events, of course, taking place, and the veracity of these events, of what can be true or what can be believable by anyone. And as the scene unfolds, there is this moment in which one of the characters stands up and looks through a fish tank, through an aquarium. And we get there a reflection from both a mirror that is reflecting the aquarium and the camera focusing the character through this. And I was wondering, just like fish, maybe sometimes we cannot realize the medium in which we exist. It is totally invisible to us, like water to fish. So I was wondering if you had anything for me in that regard.
Reflection over reflection, reality over reality. So maybe it is not a matter of saying that this is true, that is not true. Because when you say that maybe that is not true, it exists when you name it. And maybe there is something behind that existing there. So, reflection over reflection, life, thinking life, potential roads to take, everything exists, right? So, it is not that we don't know maybe the environment in which we are. It is maybe that we are feeling a road that is opening for us, that we maybe are a bit scared of taking because it takes us out of our comfort zone. So we try to name it as fake, but in reality, it may be an opportunity.
All right. Thanks. Liking that. Thank you.
Okay, so my scene, the next scene, right? Well, the second scene that I really loved was when the leading character got into the Matrix for the first time. So he was in this truck driving it, and we had the chance to see how this digital world, say fake world, looked like. And there were some things there that the color, so it was like gray, a little bit of cyan maybe, couple of people walking, but I felt so immersed in that world that I wanted to experience more and more. But they just gave us like a couple of seconds. There was a malfunction in the machine, so out of the matrix. And I was utterly disappointed because I couldn't enter then again with the character. So meant that.
I think there is this virtual horizon we're always trying to get access to, that we're aspiring to enter. Um, and this applies to every single context, to the point that we would like to unveil whatever is hidden there, as if there was something waiting for us, as if we were just on the verge of a big discovery that would enlighten us sufficiently to make the right decisions, or to understand more properly whatever it is that we call the world or reality. It's like we always have to find the reality inside the reality. It's like we need constantly to keep poking holes on this tissue that we call the real, so as to really get access. Because of course, whatever this is not very fulfilling, and it's there very disappointing. So I believe that this disappointment that you felt when the character got out of that matrix, it's the same disappointment of not being able of accessing the holes that we would like to poke in this existence.
Ah, meant that. Am I looking for enlightenment?
Or just maybe to decrease the darkness around. There is this scene in which we see the character strolling in a park, and he stops a woman asking for fire for his cigarette. Um, and something really abrupt happens, to the point in which it is not only unexpected but so catastrophic that the horror of the scene can only be comparable to the utter eccentricity of it. So we see just a very banal situation being disrupted by a very eccentric circumstance. And so much so that I believe this is the first time that we see the character being hurt, having wounds. Like literally being affected by the most irrelevant of things. But at the same time, it is so horrifying that these abrupt things happen. And I was wondering if that is one of the particularities of this plane that we call reality, that we don't know what's coming up, and that the most horrifying things that are awaiting us are equally ridiculous.
it is an interesting comment, the last that you mentioned, because I was about to tell you that what we call extraordinary, shocking, weird, unexpected, like out of context, out of the ordinary, it isn't. It is just that we are not used to it, or that maybe we turn our eyes away from those events because maybe we don't like them that much, or we don't like to see that they are coming towards us. So now, be a mentat and help me with this one.
I'll be.
Well, it was towards the end of the film. It was pretty interesting that this lady from the superior level, as they called it, came to the world of the leading character that was supposed to be the real world. And she was like disappearing and appearing in a strange way from his life at certain moments. At the end, he knew, a spoiler alert, that, well, she came from the superior level and she opened up to him, telling him that he was the creation of the creator or the manipulator of the world he was living in. That physically they perfectly resembled, but the personality changed, right? So that one that created the supposedly real world and was like a really selfish person, like so just obsessed with his desire to create, not caring for what happens around. But the one that he created in the world that he developed was really caring, really human. Yeah, it was like the opposite. And she fell in love with this concept because this person apparently was not real. She was loving the concept, but not, like the whole person. So she came to that world just to experience, to love that concept, and to be loved by that concept. So, is that what we experience in this world? Concepts, but not the person itself. So we conceptualize people through what they look like, and then we put a concept there and love that concept. Oh no, man, that. What can you tell?
Well, you're throwing so many things at me at the same time. Let me try to tackle them one by one. The first thing that I would like to get back at you with is the idea of selfishness. What do you think is more selfish, utter indifference or utter obsession? When you completely give your back to whatever things you created, or when you cannot allow them 1 millisecond to breathe, so you have to be there, standing up next to it or next to them, looking at every single thing that they do. What is more selfish? So the second question that I would like to tackle here is in regards to what is the real self of whatever we have come to call people versus the concept we have of them. I think that there is no way out. I think that if we do not have categories to refer to others, it would be very difficult to kind of like define them, classify them, figuring out what they mean to us. We just see bodies and images moving. So it would be very difficult to really develop the feelings that this lady developed for this newly considered or conceived concept of a man or of a human. So we are forever condemned to the categories and the concepts that allows us to figure out what we believe people mean for us, but at the same time, this is a jail. This is a cage from which we cannot escape. We are precisely doomed by the very means that allows us to freely determine what others mean to us.
Oh my God. Anything else, Mentat?
I would save the rest for later on, Hanks.
Jeez. So, Mentat.
Okay, well, this is not a scene. This is more like something that happened throughout the whole film. And I would like your insight on it. It was very typical for scenes to always be mediated by objects. So people would be blocked out or would be transposed by instruments, glass, mirrors, columns, and so on and so forth. Like there was no instance, or barely there was any instance in which people appear by themselves without having objects or instruments around them. And I was trying to think about how necessary it has become for us to be mediated, that there is no actual contact among ourselves precisely because we have these objects that are constantly surrounding us. And they have camouflaged so subtly throughout our existence that we have not realized that it is because of them, and many times, that we get to contact others. We required objects. We required technology. We required our own inventions to reach others, to come across others. There is no us without them. So we have to thank these objects that we have created for creating new relationships among ourselves.
Well, as technology develops, we get extremely interconnected. And this extremely interconnection shows the others potentially what our fears and dreams and desires are, right? So that's pretty scary for humans. It is because of this technological development and advances that this fear of being exposed has grown so big that we need to put ahead of us, in front of us, shields, all sorts of trinkets to protect ourselves. The more connected we get, there is more danger of being hacked. And when we get hacked, we lose ourselves. So it's a matter of protection, instinct.
I would like to take that as an optimistic moment of yours. I will let it grow on me.
Be my guest.
If you want to adopt the perspective of the observer, of the creator, of a creation being destructed, watch Welt and Draht.
If you have enjoyed playing video games in which you build a world and then get rid of it with no remorse, you better watch this because you need to change perspective.